Imagine gazing at a still image only to find it swirling and twirling before your very eyes. Welcome to the fascinating realm of optical illusions, where what you see isn't always what you get. In this world, the line between perception and reality blurs, and your mind becomes the ultimate trickster. Today, we're on a mission to unravel the science behind these captivating illusions that challenge our senses. So, buckle up and prepare to question your perception as we delve into the world of optical illusions. So, what exactly are optical illusions? Let's dive right in. Optical illusions are fascinating phenomena that play tricks on our brains, making us perceive something that isn't actually there. Think of them as conjuring tricks for the mind, where the magician is your very own brain. At their core, optical illusions manipulate our senses, exploiting the way our brain processes visual information to create a perceived reality that differs from the actual physical reality. For instance, you might see a static image appear to move, or perceive colors and patterns that aren't really there. It's all about the disparity between perception and reality. These illusions reveal how our brains construct our visual world, filling in gaps and making assumptions based on past experiences. They show us that what we perceive is not always a direct reflection of the world around us, but rather a construct of our mind's creation. They are essentially the ultimate mind game. But how do these illusions manage to fool our brain? Let's delve into the science behind optical illusions to understand this intriguing phenomenon. At the heart of this deception are light, color, and our perception. Light, the fundamental element of vision, plays a pivotal role. The manner in which light hits an object and reflects off it influences the colors and shapes we perceive. Our brain, in turn, interprets these signals and forms an image. However, here's the catch. Our brain is not simply a passive receiver. It actively predicts and fills in gaps based on past experiences. Now, let's talk about color. Color is a fascinating concept. It isn't an inherent property of objects, but rather our brain's interpretation of different wavelengths of light. This interpretation can be influenced by surrounding colors, leading to fascinating illusions, such as the same color appearing different depending on the context. This brings us to perception, the final piece of the puzzle. Perception is not just about what our eyes see, but how our brain interprets it. Our brain uses shortcuts and assumptions to process information quickly. These assumptions are based on learned experiences and can be manipulated to create illusions. For example, our brain assumes light comes from above because, well, it usually does. The sun, overhead lights, and so forth. So when an image is lit from below, our brain still interprets it as if it were lit from above, causing a perceptual conflict and creating an illusion. The brain also assumes that objects farther away are smaller, and objects closer to us are larger. This is why a drawing of a larger object farther away can seem the same size as a smaller object up close, creating the illusion of depth on a flat surface. In essence, optical illusions are not so much about deceiving the eyes, but rather tricking the brain. They exploit the shortcuts and assumptions our brain makes during the interpretation of visual data. The answer lies in the complex workings of our brain and eyes. They remind us that perception isn't always reality, and what we see is not always what is truly there. Optical illusions are not all created equal. They come in a variety of types, each with its own unique way of fooling our perception. Let's dive into some of the most common types. First up, we have geometric illusions. These play tricks on our mind with lines, angles, and shapes. Ever seen a straight line appear bent or two identical lines appear to be different lengths? That's a geometric illusion at work. Next, we have motion illusions. These illusions create the perception of movement where there is none. A static image appears to be moving, leaving us to question if our eyes are playing tricks on us. Lastly, let's talk about color and brightness illusions. They mess with our perception of color and light intensity. Ever seen an image where two identical colors appear different under varying light conditions? That's a classic example of a color and brightness illusion. Each type of illusion has its own unique way of tricking our brain. Now, time for a bit of fun. Have you ever seen a floating finger? Let's delve into this fascinating illusion. Extend your arm and point your index fingers towards each other, leaving a small gap between them. Now, focus your gaze on a distant object. Lo and behold, you'll witness a floating finger sausage in the gap. This is due to binocular rivalry, a phenomenon where your brain, unable to merge two slightly different images, alternatively suppresses one. Intriguing, isn't it? But why does your finger seem to float? Well, let's dive into the science behind the floating finger illusion. When you hold your fingers in front of your eyes and focus on a distant object, you might see a floating sausage-like thing. This illusion is due to binocular rivalry, a phenomenon in our visual system. You see, each eye views the world from a slightly different angle. When both eyes focus on an object, the brain combines these two images into one, giving us a perception of depth. But when you cross your fingers and focus on a distant object, each eye is receiving a different image. Your brain, the clever little thing it is, tries its best to reconcile these conflicting images and ends up creating a merged image, the floating finger. So this fun party trick isn't magic, but a testament to the amazing capabilities of our brain. It's all about how our brain processes visual information. Ready for another experiment? Let's meet the spinning dancer. This is a classic illusion that plays with your perception of motion and depth. As you watch the dancer, you may see her spinning in one direction, then suddenly, she appears to spin the other way. The direction you first see her spin depends on which hemisphere of your brain is dominant at that moment. Fascinating, isn't it? Now take a moment and try this yourself. Which direction did you see her spin? Surprised by the spinning dancer? This captivating illusion leaves many viewers questioning their own eyes. But what's the science behind it? The spinning dancer illusion is a phenomenon of vestibular perception, where an image may be perceived in one of two ways. Here, the dancer can appear to rotate either clockwise or counterclockwise. Your brain is making an educated guess about which direction the dancer is spinning, based on cues like shadows and lighting. But here's the catch: there aren't any. The image is purposely designed to be ambiguous, providing no definitive information about the direction of spin. So your brain fills in the gaps, making an assumption about the dancer's rotation. Interestingly, some people can even switch between seeing the dancer spin one way or the other. It's a fascinating showcase of how our brain interprets incomplete visual information. This illusion reveals the interpretative nature of our perception. Let's move on to our final experiment, the checker shadow. A fascinating example of how our brain interprets light, color, and shadow. Picture a checkerboard. On it, two squares, one seemingly dark, the other light. But hold on to your hats because they're actually the same color. Our brain, fooled by the shadow, sees them as different. Try it out. It's a fun experiment that demonstrates how lighting and shading can manipulate our perception. Did the squares seem to be different colors? Confused by the checker shadow? Well, let's delve into its intriguing science. This illusion, created by Professor Edward Adelson, highlights the brain's interpretation of light and shadow. Here's how it works. The brain constantly makes judgments about color, based on surrounding lighting conditions. In the checker shadow illusion, two squares, A and B, appear different in color due to the shadow cast by an object. The brain interprets square A as being in shadow and square B as being in light, causing us to perceive them as different colors. However, remove the surrounding context and you'll find both squares are the exact same color. Surprising, isn't it? This all comes down to a process known as color constancy, where the brain compensates for changes in lighting to maintain the perceived color of objects. This illusion demonstrates how our brain interprets light and shadow. Optical illusions are not just scientific phenomena, they're also a form of art. Artists, graphic designers, even architects often employ these perceptual tricks to create compelling, mesmerizing works. From the ancient Greeks with their Parthenons and Tacis to modern-day street artists creating three-dimensional murals, the art of illusion is everywhere. It's a dance between the creator and the viewer, where the canvas is not just the medium, but also our minds. Artists have long used these tricks of perception to create stunning and thought-provoking pieces. But it's not just in the realm of art where you'll find optical illusions. They pervade our daily lives, often without us even realizing it. Take architecture, for instance, where clever design can make a small space seem larger or a tall building appear shorter. In the fashion industry, patterns and stripes are used to create the illusion of different body shapes. Even road signs utilize optical illusions to catch our attention. They're all around us, if we only take the time to look. So, what happens to our brain when we look at an optical illusion? Fascinating question, isn't it? Well, optical illusions engage our brain in a unique way. They trick our perception, causing intriguing neuronal activities. You see, our brain is a pattern recognition machine. It's always trying to make sense of the world around us. But optical illusions? They disrupt this process. They create a conflict between what our eyes see and what our brain interprets. For instance, when we view an ambiguous image, multiple areas of our brain get activated as they compete to resolve the ambiguity. This tug-of-war can lead to alternate perceptions, like seeing a rabbit or a duck in the same image. Interestingly, these illusions are not just deceptive tricks. They're powerful tools used in cognitive research. They help scientists understand how our brain processes visual information and how perception and reality can diverge. So, remember, these illusions are more than just fun tricks. They're a window into how our brain works. Despite all we know, there are still many mysteries surrounding optical illusions. The labyrinth of our perception continues to confound even the brightest minds. As we delve deeper into the enigma, questions multiply. Can we ever fully understand how our brain perceives reality? Or will we forever be in the grip of these fascinating deceptions? Ongoing research into optical illusions promises to uncover more pieces of this puzzle. The world of optical illusions is a puzzle that scientists are still trying to solve. As we reach the end of our journey into the world of optical illusions, one thing is clear. The enchanting dance between light, the brain, and perception continues to fascinate us. We've delved into the science, explored the art, and challenged our minds with experiments. So let's keep questioning, keep learning, and keep being amazed by the tricks of perception. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mind-bending content. Remember, not everything is as it seems.